away we go. Here we are. So, YoPeGo.
Hello.
Now you are one of the few people whose name origin story I actually know, because I think it was like
Yeah.
nearly 3 years ago I did a video where I was interviewing all the grand champions in South Africa, all six of them.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you were one of them, and that was one of my questions then. But you go ahead and tell us why you are YoPeGo. And for the record, I did for the first bit, I used to call you YoPeGo because I wasn't sure. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so tell us the story.
The story behind the gamer tag or how I
Yeah, no, the gamer tag.
the gamer tag. All right. So sure, back when I was I think like 13, 14, I was like really big onto Dota 2 and I named myself Your Pet Goldfish and I would join random Dota lobbies like with a password that's like 123 or something and spam people saying like, "Why'd you flush me down the toilet? I wasn't dead yet."
Okay.
And your pet goldfish turned into your Peruvian goldfish because people from Peru were really bad at Dota, and it was sort of a meme in the community. And then I shortened that to YoPeGo.
Okay. And here we are as
Mm-hmm.
YoPeGo. All right. And then, so I mean, you've been in and around the competitive scene probably for as long as I've been had anything to do with the community, which is over the last
Mm.
3 years. So, where in your mind did your competitive designs in Rocket League begin?
So I initially bought the game in 2016, although I was playing it for fun, not really like seriously. And then I'd say about mid 2017 is when I started to notice, that I was getting like significantly better than my friends who were also playing the game. So I thought, why not just like watch some tutorials, and actually try to get, good at the game. And you know I met a cool guy in a 1v1 once the South African servers were released, and he sort of told me about the Discord, um, and the whole community, and then that's how I got involved in it and started my own team, which was Dexterity Esports at the time. And yeah, it sort of kicked off from there.
Okay. And where are you? You're Cape based as well, right?
I was Cape based when I was in varsity, but now I'm staying in Knysna.
In Knysna, the sleepy town of Knysna. Jeez.
Yep.
And is there enough to keep you keep your attention in Knysna? I d
Oh, well, I have pretty much everything I need right here. I don't go out too much.
Okay, well, fair enough. Well, what do you do? What do you do outside of Rocket League?
Outside of Rocket League, um, well, I've been developing a game for about like a year now, in Unity as like a side project. I've also got my music that I do. Um, yeah.
Okay, so does that mean you're sort of freelancing everything? You're not holding down a 9 to 5.
No, no.
What?
At the moment, I'm quite free with my time.
Well, that's good. And is that by design?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Rocket League is sort of plan A right now. Plan B would be to, get a job with my design degree and take that further. But yeah,
And that's a degree you already have.
yeah. I did my BCom in um, multimedia design.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
And that was about 3 years. So I went straight out of high school into that and basically took a gap year after that and then started with all of these other things.
And how old are you now?
I'm 22.
22. Okay. And then you mentioned music. So tell me a bit
Mm.
about that. What do you do in music?
In music, I am a singer. I took singing lessons from a very young age, and I basically used to perform in almost every event possible in school because I'd always be asked to. Um, and I basically took my singing roots from school and started doing my own music on YouTube under Josh Paul Sound,
Okay.
which is pretty much a cappella based music. So I use my voice to do the vocals, the backing sounds, the beat, all of that.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that's where the singing comes in.
Okay. And is that a your YouTube channel? Is that an active channel? Is that something people can go and visit? Check out your
Yeah,
music.
it is something people can go visit. It's up. I think I have about 8 or 9 songs with one music video up at the
Okay.
moment. I haven't posted in a long time, but I do plan on getting more into that
Okay.
again because I have a lot of songs that I've written that haven't just haven't been recorded yet. So
Okay. All right. Well, we'll make sure we get that link in the description. Guys can go check out
yeah, I'd
YoPeGo the
appreciate that.
musician, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And then, so are you from Cape Town? Were you sort of born there or grew up there?
I was actually born in Joburg, but when I was 2 years old, we moved to Cape Town,
Okay.
and then I stayed there until I was about um, 11, and
Hmm.
then we moved to Knysna from there. But then later down the line, I went to boarding school back in Cape Town. Um, so it was like back and forward between Cape Town and Knysna for a while.
Okay. And now settled as a resident of Knysna.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, brilliant. And all right, now let's you mentioned for the time being Rocket League is plan A. What is that plan in your mind? What is that plan? Where does that go? What does it look like?
Where does it go? Well, obviously, we're aiming for top two. We've now recently got Defunct in our roster, which has pretty much just leveled up our gameplay um, to being, a lot better than it was before.
Okay.
And yeah, we really want to do well in the upcoming split and, prove to the community that we can be a top two team. And then, I think points wise, it's a little bit ambitious to say that we would want to go to Worlds this year, but next year I think that would be a possibility.
Okay. And
Mm.
what is the okay? I'll come back to that question. I want to talk to you about next season and what your hopes are for that in terms of its structure, what it looks like for
Mm.
SSA. But we'll come back to that in a moment. So with now defunct in the roster, how are you? Is there a formalized kind of program of how you're developing as a team, how you're I guess practicing and getting better as a unit?
Mm. The way we train is, we train pretty much every day in the mornings, and we have a full-time coach whose tag is Vitali. He's a CRL player in Northern America, and he's been coaching us for I think 2 months now. So we do a lot of sessions with him, and obviously some of our prize winnings from the RCS goes to him
Okay.
for helping us. And yeah, so we've been trying to iron out all the mistakes we've been making and just grind the game with each other, without each other, just play as much as we can.
And so you've got Vitali, and he's so what do those sessions look like? Are they just like game replays and analysis, or
Well, he'll often sit in our scrims, and basically tell us what we've done wrong in the game
Okay.
before going into the next one. And that also then, like, if we don't do so well, then we'll go straight into replay analysis and all that. Um, but yeah, I'd say replays and scrims are pretty much the main focus. And then when the events come along, then he'll obviously be in the call with us as well as the coach
Okay.
and help us on the field.
Okay. And how much time are you in the game on a daily basis? And do you, so firstly, how much time, and then is there a, do you have a routine of, you spend so much time doing this, or is it a little bit, what is that, how much time, and what does that look like in terms of the time you're spending in the
Mm.
game?
Well, on most days we'll do 2 hours of training in the mornings, and then I'll probably do about 2 to 3 hours after that, by myself or with the team, depending on their availability. And then we also have scrums in the evenings, so I'd say looking at about 6, 7, 8 hours a day.
Sure. Okay. So that's well, it's a job.
Yeah, it is.
Certainly in terms of the time commitment.
Mm,
And okay, so at the age of 22, which and I think I'm slowly changing my mind on it. Well, to an extent, at least I'm thinking about it more broadly. I think after my
mm,
conversation with Skill Steel, because there is a prevailing view that it's 15 to 18 are your prime Rocket League years, and after that you're just old and washed. And I don't know what your thoughts. A, what are your thoughts on that, and B, how long do you see yourself in the competitive scene in Rocket League?
mm. Um, I personally think that, younger players are, they have like a steeper peak of increase in their skill level that they can improve faster. But, everybody will eventually plateau at some point. It'll take a lot, like it'll be different for each person, but I don't think that, in Rocket League that age is that much of a telling factor.
Mm,
Like, I feel like it's much more how much work you put in, because a younger player who plays for 2 hours a day, who is a good player, could still be easily matched by an older person who's put in extra effort. So I don't think it's like, all the old people will lose. You know, I think it's a lot of people don't really take that in mind when thinking about it.
okay. So with that in mind, how long do you see yourself competing?
As long as I can, really. As long as, my situation allows it. If there is a time where I have to, get a full-time job, then it might be more difficult. But, for now, as things are, I'm able to do it. So I want to do it as long as I possibly can,
Okay.
because, I really enjoy being in the competitive scene, and I don't want to go anywhere anytime soon.
And what about competing do you enjoy? And I ask this question because I don't enjoy it. I
Oh, you
find
don't?
well, yeah, I find I don't feel I'm compatible with the competitive environment outside of
Mm,
ranked Rocket League. But I always find when I get into the team situations or whatever, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me, and I
I
don't
see, I
generally do
see.
well. So what does competing give you?
Competing gives me, a purpose to play the game. Obviously, if I was only playing for rank grind or ranked rewards, I would get bored very quickly.
Mm,
But, the idea that you're playing for something, that you're working towards something is, it's what keeps me playing the game. I don't think without the competitive scene, I think I probably would have stopped playing Rocket League, just because there's, I mean, Rocket League doesn't really add new things
mm,
very often. There's a new DLC here and there, but the core game itself hasn't changed in a very long time, and I think without the competitive aspect of it, I think I would have given it up. But having that purpose to grind, and you have teammates who you want to make them proud. You don't want to let them down. It just adds a completely new dynamic to the game for me.
And how do you deal with the highs and lows, which are sort of part and parcel of any competitive endeavor?
Mm,
Like a loss, you go into a regional and you've got definite idea of where you'd like to go, and you want to finish top 2 or 3 or whatever your goals are, and you fall short of that.
mm.
How how do you deal with the lows of not winning or falling short of where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I think how I specifically deal with a tough loss is, I'll take some time to myself. I'll reflect on it, what I could have done better. Maybe it was me, maybe it wasn't me, but just after that, work that much harder to get to that level that I wanted myself to be but couldn't get to. So it's a loss is more of a motivation to me than a dissuasion.
Okay, well that's probably a healthy way to look at it. All right, well let's talk about DNMK for a second.
Hmm.
You've mentioned Defunct is now part of the team,
Yeah.
and how are you feeling about that dynamic? I mean, obviously you haven't. I don't think you've competed in anything yet. Certainly, we've got the split coming up, but how's that developing? How are you feeling about the new dynamic?
Well, we have been playing in VS and we ended up
Okay.
top of the table. So as a roster, we're doing well. We're, going up against XD with 1 goal games. The first time we've actually played them as a roster when, nerves were high, we didn't know what to expect. So I think in the upcoming games with them, it'll be a lot closer, just simply because it's not that first time, and the nerves of facing them as a new roster and not knowing what to expect. So I think once we pass that phase, we're going to become quite a force to be reckoned with.
All right. Let's talk now about we got the third split coming up, so 3 more regionals,
Hmm.
and then that's the end of the season. Early signs are positive in terms of SSA's continued involvement, and by all indications, we will certainly have a role to play. What what would you like to see for the next season, as it relates to SSA?
Well, obviously, it would be really awesome if they were to, add us into the LAN events that they have. Like at least, even if it's just one spot, I think it would be awesome to have an SSA team play at the majors. I think, because then it would be, they want to make it a global event,
Yes.
right? And this whole wild card slot and all that is, pretty much to test us to see where we're at compared to the other teams. And, I don't think we're going to do badly against those teams on an equal playing field, when both teams have zero ping to the server, and it's just skill involved. Obviously, there is a skill gap, but I think we are able to surprise some people in terms of where we would be in relation to the other teams.
And do you think what do you believe gets us? Is it just a time thing in terms of our skill level reaching the point where we can compete on equal terms with the likes of North America and EU?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they wouldn't want to stream a game where it's just 20-0 or something. That's not fun for the casters. It's not fun for the players. It's not fun for the audience. And I think that's what they would be trying to avoid.
Yes.
But as long as we can prove to them that it is close games and that we are at a level where we can compete, I think that they wouldn't have an issue adding at least one of our teams to the majors, for
Mm.
example.
I do think they've been. I think they've been pleasantly surprised by how the region as a whole has kind of rallied around their
Mm,
inclusion, and we've seen. Well, certainly from my perspective, it seems like there's been good growth in the I mean, a long way to go, of course, but we need to. I don't know how we 10x our player base, but that would be really helpful to get a lot. But I do think
yeah.
overall the response has been good and certainly enough to keep us in the mix and to keep it going forward.
Mm. You see, the thing is, as we are right now, we've got a lot of players in sort of the champ regions of the ranking, in the game, and like the whole like champ, like queuing SA servers at a champion level, you'll get games quite a lot. So when those people start to get to GC, high GC, then we'll have a lot more competition in the region. I think it's just a matter of time before those players meet that level.
Mm, okay. All right. So, in as much as you have thought about it, what are your short, medium, and long-term Rocket League goals?
Short, medium, and long term. I'd say short term goal is to get to place well in the next regional. To do the best that I possibly can for the team and for us to get into where we want to be. Medium to long term goals, I think, would be to, you know, I want to fly overseas to actually be able to compete um, with EU players on equal ping and see what my rank would be or
Okay.
what that would look like so that I could get like a like a solid understanding of where my skill level is at
Hmm.
compared to pros in Europe and whatnot, because people like Shadow and Palliser, they've gone into the high SSLs just from going there. So I think it would be a good test for me to see how I would square up against like maybe even 2K plus players, and just see where it goes from there, because
Okay.
it's very hard to get uh, a true just of where your rank would be, because I finished last season as GC3 with the ping delay, so I think I would be able to get a lot higher
Mm.
if it wasn't in the equation.
Okay, so I guess it's a case. Yeah, I mean that's probably not a bad thing to do at all, because then you can kind of make plans or
Mm.
refine the planning from there once you have a better square of how that looks and feels.
Yeah, what the difference is, and how much I would need to work to get there.
Mm. So I think I mean, for people like yourself and Snowy and maybe even Falliser, um, some of the more sort of OG people who've been around a long time.
Mm.
The timings. It's great that we're part of RLCS, but in some cases it feels like if only it had happened a year or two earlier, to kind of
Mm.
give you a jump. But it is now a massive advantage for younger players or newer players, and you've mentioned the players who are sitting in sort of the champ range, sort of champ 1 to champ 3, who are now
Yeah.
themselves thinking about, oh, I'd like to go pro. So having
Mm.
gone the journey that you've gone, if there's some sort of 16-year-old there who's champ 2 and thinking about going pro, what would you say to that young plucky kid with ambitions of dominating Rocket League?
I'd say go for it, man. It's really not impossible. I used to look at myself back in the day and thought that I'd never get, to. I remember thinking I'd never reach champion level, or when I got there, I would never reach GC, or you know,
Mm,
it's it's like you got to take it one day at a time. Like if you got to set realistic goals for yourself in the short term, because if you just look at the top from all the way here, it's gonna feel daunting. It's gonna, it's gonna make you want to give up. But it's the same with anybody else in the scene. We worked at it one day at a time until we got here. So it's not impossible for you to make it big. You just need to, work your ass off to get there, like we all did.
All right, good stuff. So we have the first regional of the third split coming up in 3 weeks' time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what do you want? What do you want out of the regional? What's the goal for just taking that first regional? What do you want out of it for yourself and for DNMK?
I'd like to, place at least top three. And obviously the goal is either two or one, but I think, being the first regional, as a team, I think there is some room for error in terms of maybe nerves or, anything else that might arise for the first event. But after the first event, I feel like we'll be a lot more comfortable and able to, maybe even consistently take the top two spot.
And have any of you met each other outside of Discord?
Yeah, yeah. I went to Logan's place for about a week with Echo at the time,
Okay.
and we sort of had like a little boot camp where we trained and we also went to Sun City together, which was really
Oh
fun.
wow. Okay.
And yeah, so that was like pretty much Logan's 18th birthday celebration sort of thing, but we sort of turned it into a boot camp.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Keep the grind and at any opportunity. That's good.
Yeah, it's been a journey with the lads. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been, I think, nearing 2 years on the same team with Casper, and
And how
having
old is Defunct? He's 17ish, 16, 17?
he no, actually, I think he's 19, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's
And
out of school already.
do you find that being the oldest in the team that you have a is there a role that comes with that age gap, or is it all fairly on equal terms, or do you find yourself being the trying to think of the word mentor's not the right word, but are you filling the role as the older person?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in terms of like decisions made as a team, it's pretty much me who makes those decisions.
Okay.
On the field, I say I'd probably be, more of a captain figure than we Casper is.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'd say that, Casper does look up to me quite a lot, and I think Defunct also does. So I've got to set an example, obviously being the elder one, and I have a pretty good mentality when it comes to losing, and I like to boost the morale of the team when possible. So yeah, I'd say that's where I stand in terms of that.
Brilliant. All right, good. Well, your pet goldfish, and with DNMK regional in 3 weeks. Good luck. I'm
Thank you.
very excited for everything that's happening right now and as it's gonna develop. But I hope you get as far as you wish to.
Thank you. Thank you. I
No worries.
appreciate that.